You are listening to the Scars and Guitars podcast series that also syndicates for the A-List Online. My name's Andrew Mackay-Smith. The interview subject you're about to listen to is from a Swedish outfit called Enforcer. It is the fellow at the centre of that outfit, Olof Wikstrand. The reason for the conversation is to promote Enforcer's new album, which will be out at the end of April. It's called Zenith. So let's have a listen to what Olof has to say. Here we go.
Get that.
What's been happening, mate? I know you got this excellent album to promote that's coming up, mate. Zenith or Zenith, depending on where you're from in the world, is how you pronounce it there. But
we were a little bit like insecure how to pronounce that, but they were like when we researched that, it was like, well, yeah, you can both say Zenith and Zenith.
Yeah, it's the same thing. I mean, God, all these grammar Nazis out there, excuse the expression, that like to pick apart people's vocabulary and the syntax of language that they use can get bent, to be honest with you. You know what I mean? It's your art. You call it whatever you want.
Yeah.
You know. But, the thing I like about it, you got two versions. So my question, I guess the question for you that I have is that, have you got a big Latin American fan base, have you? Or a big Spanish fan base? Is that the reason behind the Spanish version?
We've been touring there quite a lot.
Sorry, what's that? I missed it. Just cut out.
No. What was your question?
Oh, just about the two versions there. You must have a massive Spanish-speaking following.
Massive. But I mean, we've been touring in Latin America a couple of times, and we've seen that it's really important for people to be able to understand and relate to the lyrics. So that's kind of where this idea started of making two versions, plus that they have like both the biggest and also the greatest metal crowd in the entire world. So I mean, they've been so dedicated and true to us, so it's like also a way of giving back to them as well. So it was a crazy project that started as a small project, and then once I engaged myself into the project and didn't like stop until I was all finished, it turned out to be a quite huge project. But,
are you a Spanish speaker yourself?
Just the basics.
Just the basics, yeah.
Well, there's levels in hell, I was about to say, but yeah, it's relative. But I do speak basic Spanish at least. So.
Yeah, you've obviously been speaking the English language probably most of your life, I take it.
Yeah, I think we start to speak English, or we start to study English in schools when you're like 7 or 8. So it's like very natural for us. Swedish is a very small language, so it's very natural for us to speak other languages. We take like both second language, which would be English in school, but also it's like mandatory to take a third language as well.
Yeah, right. Okay. Yeah, it's always
if you take care of what you're taught, then you should be fluent in at least 3 languages if you went through the Swedish school system.
Okay. Yeah, gotcha. Yeah. Well, over here in Australia, you do learn either French or German, generally speaking, when you're going to high school. Yeah. But there's definitely more of a push to Japanese too. Is very big too. My daughters learn Japanese in kindergarten, very young ages.
Yeah,
but,
you're pretty close to them, so it makes sense.
Yeah, well, the other one too is Cantonese, or Mandarin, I should say, these days, the Chinese language. That's massive for us here because of the trade thing.
Oh, yeah.
Huge things going on there. But, mate, this album, let's talk about this album again, okay? So I know you guys are basically the kings of the new wave of traditional heavy metal. New Autumn, I think, is the phrase that has been coined. This is no gimmick, though, with you guys at all. You've been doing it now for a long time. And I know you individually, you were spearheaded the project, you started about 15 years ago or so.
Yeah.
So I guess the question for you is, mate, is how have you remained true to the art? Is it just a part of who you are?
Yeah, I mean, we've never been like following trends, I would say, or anything like that. That's why we also started. We've always been like the option to the current trends, both in like the metal underground, but also in like the society as a whole, or in the music industry as a whole. So being true to our ourselves and to our idea. So it's been like a fundamental idea in with this band concept.
Yeah, and it was. I think I remember when you guys started. So it was about the early 2000s or so, 2005 or so. I think if I can cast my memory back to when you guys first started, and there wasn't a great fan base there, if you like, was there originally? You're really getting a lot of the older fellows who liked, and older people who liked a lot of the Iron Maiden, and I can see a Megadeth T-shirt you've got there on. But then I think you've developed, you guys, and 3 Inches of Blood, I think was the name of the band, that I really remember coming out with a more traditional sound, and then it seemed like this scene sort of expanded around you guys. So is that your impression of things from where you were sitting?
I think like this kind of thing pretty much exploded in 2010, and that's where before that it was still like an underground thing, and us and a few other bands like Portrait and Solitude and some other of those bands that kind of never reached the same. Maybe In Solitude did at some point, but they quit in 2012 or something. But before that it was more of an underground thing. But then all of a sudden in 2010 there was like bands like popping up at every corner of the world playing this kind of style. So I mean, this new wave of traditional heavy metal, as they call it, is something that I'm aware of, and also that I've been aware of something that we started, but it's nothing that we've ever related to, you know.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about that, because these labels tend to get laying upon you, don't they? They're not a choice. It's not like you come out in an interview and go, "Yeah, we are new wave of traditional heavy metal." Or so.
I would say that the followers do label themselves as this, but you know, it's not that Iron Maiden are going out with, we are a real new wave of British heavy metal band. They would never say that, because, you know.
Yeah, it's just something that I think radio programs from back in the day needed to allocate bands for shows, and then DJs, and then of course with the record stores you had little sections and all the rest of it. But look, I'm a great believer, and I've said this many times in the podcast, mate, that for me it's all rock and roll, to be honest with you, man. The whole thing, you know, all rock music, whether it's black metal. Same with me. Yeah. Whether it's, you know, talking to Eric from Watain not too long ago, I just said to him, man, to me, you guys are just a great rock and roll band, and he didn't disagree, I don't think, you know. Turned out he's a big fan of the Beatles and the Rolling Stones, and I can hear that through their music.
I think so too. For me, it's like the same thing, you know, because you can hear, as long as you hear like the dedication, and you can hear the, like, that they really mean what they're doing, is like the same thing for me, you know? And that's the essence of rock and roll, I think, that you really mean it. You mean every note that you play, you mean every word that you're singing, you know?
Yeah, indeed. So just back to the album again, Zenith. Let's call it Zenith, because that's how us Australians tend to say the word Zenith.
How would you say it?
Zenith, yeah. Not Zenith. I don't know. That's a bit of an Americanism, I think, that sort of has crept into our language. But no, we're definitely more of the British school of things. So Zenith is how we'd pronounce it. I think that's the way. That's the way we'd say all good. But I mean, you got a song on there, Zenith of the Black Sun. You've even got a song on there called Regrets. So is there a lyrical theme through this one here that you want to share?
In these two songs?
Oh, just in a song like Regret, because I didn't have access to the to a lyric sheet or what have you. But is there what are the lyrical themes on the album?
There isn't like a common theme throughout the album. There's not. The lyrical themes are very, very varied. They're just as varied as the music, I would say. But in these two particular songs, I would say that Zenith is it's like a concept that was developed by a friend of mine who also wrote the lyrics. And we came up with this like idea about like prehistoric human who were exposed to some sort of cataclysmical event or something, or like a radical change in their everyday life. So based upon that, they are inventing gods and religions and pretty much superstition. And then there's like this story that talks about this concept in Zenith of the Black Sun. That's pretty much it's a pretty epic story if you get the lyrics. It's
Yeah,
the
I'm
same.
looking forward to it.
It's
Yeah.
the same guy who once wrote Katana for us. It's a song from our 2010 album. Lyrical genius, I would say. Regrets, I would say that's more of a like more of a self-reflection in the lyrics. It's more has a bit of regret in it, obviously, and it's like missing something, and also has a little bit of a suicidal idea in it, losing grip.
There you go.
Yeah,
Profound.
yeah,
Yeah, profound subject
yeah.
matter. Yeah. Well, I think the things that you're talking about there, though, sound like as though they all link back to your album cover. I really like the album covers that you've managed to produce through the years.
Yeah.
So this one here, I used to be a fan of Gamma Ray. I don't really like a lot of power metal anymore, to be honest with you, but I certainly had to dig up my copy of the CD. And I think the album was Power Plant from 1999 that they came out with. And not suggesting for a moment yours is the same as that, but there's echoes of it through there. But the big one for me was Power Slave, one of my favourite all-time albums. So the album cover art, though, it is important for you guys, though, isn't it? I mean, it is an important companion piece, and I know these days people generally don't, well, certainly in Australia, buy CDs. We stream things, so you only get a little image icon, if you like, but I'd love to see this one on T-shirts, man. I think it'll look fab.
Yeah. Well, of course, it's a part of the packaging, and it's kind of the vibe that you send the listener, because music is, in the end, it's about associations, I think. And when you close your eyes and you listen to something, you picture yourself somewhere or in a certain mood, and like goes together, I would say. So like the color theme, like the general vibe of the artwork is something that definitely is important. But then like the actual concept is more, that's pretty much the artist idea. But yeah, of course it's important to put you there together with the music.
I'm just trying to Google now the name of the Tom Cruise film. You probably know it, but Tom Cruise has got a film out where he and Morgan Freeman, I think Morgan Freeman is, beamed up into this massive pyramid style thing, and actually the graphic reminds me a little bit of that one there. I can't remember the name of the film. It wasn't Interstellar. Jesus, any other time, of course, I'd remember it, and I can't remember it at the moment. But I love what you said there about it. It's kind of got dark connotations at the same time too. There's an ominous feeling about it too. So would you say would you say this album is a bit more of a serious album, more serious than even the other albums that you guys have got out there?
We've always tried to be very serious and ambitious with what we're doing, but of course you learn something from everything you do, and the next project you involve yourself in, every project seems to be just more and more ambitious all the time. And you also get the possibility to fulfill your ideas more and more the more experience you have, and also the more time and money you have to play with.
Indeed. Hey, what would you say has been your greatest challenge as an artist doing what you're doing with Enforcer?
Greatest challenge, I think, to always succeed what we've been doing before, I would say. Come up with something that is not only in pair with the previous releases, but to always do something that's better. That's the biggest challenge. That's the challenge I feel right now in front, before a potential next record, is how the fuck should we exceed this? That's been the challenge, because I think it's rather useless to do something that is not better than your previous efforts.
Yep. So would you say this is the, if you're going to show somebody an Enforcer album who'd never heard it before, do you think Zenith is the album that you'd like to show them?
Definitely.
Yep.
Yeah, without doubt.
Who did you work with? Which producer did you work with on this one?
No producer. We did it ourselves.
You did it. Okay, good on you. Yeah. Yep.
Me and Jonas, pretty much co-produced the entire album. We wanted to work with some producer because it's hell a lot of work.
Yeah.
But but and I would like to focus on the musical parts, but somehow, we talked to a few producers, and they were like, seems like most producers, like who do more major bands, they're very stuck in like 2003's type of music production.
Mm. I know what you're saying.
They think that it's. Everyone seems to think that it sounds massive with triggered drums and guitars with no mids in. I don't agree with that. I think it sounds massive when you have like a timeless, good production, but it's not like trendy to do that. So honestly, I don't think that any producer of today can really capture what I hear in my head. So that's why we eventually decided to do it all by ourselves. Plus that we've kind of been using the studio as an instrument, as like a lot. But that's also why we wanted to be in total control of the sound, because the sound is also a big part of like the entirety.
Yeah, there's your fellow Swede, Jens Bogren. Have you had a chat to him about maybe working? Jens Bogren, the guy who did Sepultura, Creator. He's done a lot of stuff for Nuclear Blast, actually. A lot of Nuclear Blast artists.
I've been thinking about his name, actually, but I never talked to him.
Yeah, check him out, man. He knows exactly what's going on, actually. And he's worked with a lot of bands that, I wouldn't actually say that there's an identifiable characteristic that Jens himself brings to the table, like in the same way Ross Robinson does, with what he's been doing with what he did with Suicide Silence recently, and of course Korn and those bands there. But Jens he just seems to, everything he seems to work with, every band he seems to work with, the bands, it sounds like as though he knows exactly what's going on in the studio, and you can't say that about every producer, to be honest with you.
No.
So what about Australia, mate? Have we endeared ourselves to you over the years?
Have you what?
Endeared? Like, have we reached out to you over social media? Do you get a lot of follow-up feedback and a lot of communication from Australian fans?
Some, but not a lot. I don't know much about the Australian metal scene. I went to Sydney last year, and I went to this Utopia place.
Record store down there. Yeah,
pretty cool store, and I met quite a lot of people there who knew about us and who were excited about us, and just by randomly walking in there. So I think that you have a potential scene, and I would love to explore that more somehow.
Yeah, we're not massive on the trad metal stuff, so traditional heavy metal. It's more deathcore, metalcore. Thy Art is Murder.
Yeah,
Thy Art is Murder and Aversion's Crown.
It's like when that I talked about this kind of traditional metal wave that went on in like 2010 in Europe. We've seen that wave also hit North America, but kind of in 2019 or 2018. Like 10 years after. So I think you can expect a little wave of retro metal in Australia eventually as well. I think you just have to, you just have to have some pioneers, some band coming down to do this for you.
I think Edguy have come down a little bit, actually. There's been a few bands that have come down, but and of course the big ones like Maiden and Priest.
Yeah.
Priest just headlined Download down here. Yeah. I think they. It seems like every man and his dog has gotten into Priest, and I'm an old Priest fan. Actually, I got into them. I'm old enough to have gotten into them around about Painkiller, and but it seems like every man and his dog gets into them these days. But I listen to them so much, to be honest with you, I can't listen to them anymore. They're just done. You get to that point when you listen to a band too much, and it's too familiar. You'll always be a fan and you'll always watch them and support them, but it's just too familiar. But
I think Judas Priest is one of those bands where I really admire for that you can go into their back catalog and you can always find new stuff that you haven't discovered before, because their old albums are so varied, and it's so many different like dimensions in their music. So anytime you can go back to any album. Like, let's say any album pre-Painkiller, and you can always find, or actually Painkiller too. There's a few. I kind of don't like the production on it, but there's a few really good tracks on it. But you can always go back and you can find something new. Even though I listened to Judas Priest for 25 years, I can still find something new in their albums now, and that has been something that's been very inspirational for us.
Did you read KK Downing's book?
No, I haven't.
Good book, man. Good book. It doesn't paint Priest in the best light, I must say. But I didn't. One of the things that I didn't realise was that Glenn Tipton had so much of a dominance over him insofar as doing the guitar leads and solos. I always thought that I was listening to the two guitarists. Actually, I didn't investigate that part of it. But because KK is actually a good soloist too, I've made a point of listening to some of his stuff that I could find on YouTube, and of course he's a tremendous rhythm player. Probably the best rhythm player out of all of those traditional bands, if you don't mind me saying. I think his style was just so blocked, and you always knew it was him. And the link that he had with, I can't remember the name of the bassist, sorry, but he and the bassist, Ian Hill, they just ride together with each other, and they didn't always use the same drummer either. You know, Dave Holland, who's since departed this mortal coil, they had him for a bit, and then of course, what's the name of their drummer now? Sorry, the guy from Racer X. Scott Travis. Scott Travis.
Yeah. He's been around for a while. And then they had Mr. Drum Machine for a while.
Yeah, what was that album? Was that Turbo? Was that on that album, or what was it?
I think the Turbo. No, I'm not sure. But I think Ram It Down and Painkiller are Drum Machine.
Is that right?
Yeah.
I look
a very large part at least.
Yeah, I remember getting Painkiller about the same time I got Rust in Peace, you know, with your T-shirt there, and to me they were inseparable, those two. And Annihilator's Alice in Hell as well. That was another classic album. Yeah, you know,
99, I think. No, 89. Yeah, something like that.
I got them in 1990, so probably not that long after they were released. But you're probably right about being 89. But 1990 was a good year, I reckon. You know, it was a Coroner album, whatever album that they had out that year, and Celtic Frost came out with Vanity Nemesis as well. Which I wasn't into them back then. I got into them a few years after that, but they're probably one of my favourite all-time bands, Celtic Frost. Actually, they're another tremendous outfit that we haven't seen down here, I don't think so. But that's life, mate. Yeah. All right, mate. No, that's good. Good to chat to you. Congratulations on. I always say this, man, to people like yourself, but I really admire the fact that you've been able to carve a career and have a career playing heavy metal. Because it's bloody hard to do. It's so hard to do. So you've obviously been doing a lot of the right things musically and also in business. So congratulations for that.
Thank you very much. Thanks.
No. All right, mate. No worries. Cheers. All the best.
Thank you. Nice chatting. Have a good day.
You too, mate. Catch you.
Bye.
You have been listening to the Scars and Guitars podcast series that also syndicates for the A-List Online. My name is Andrew Mackay-Smith, and that interview subject you heard from was Olof Wikstrand from the Swedish outfit Enforcer. Thank you so much for listening.